Lead Squared is a cutting-edge CRM platform for enrollment management. With Lead Squared, you will deliver a seamless student experience, streamline admissions processes, lower costs, and increase retention. Schedule a demo at leadsquared.com. Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. Dr. Joe Salustio here with you again. Another great episode as we continually move towards 400. If you can believe it, some days I can't believe it. 400 episodes coming up of this podcast. I don't know who our 400th guest is going to be, but we should probably make it pretty special. Although every time we hit 100, it's like 100, 200, 300. They come so fast, it's like we can't plan. Right now, when this episode airs, will probably be sometime in February or so. But we will have had guests booked until September of 2022 at this point. It is insane. And we're talking to tons of people, adding to the value of higher education with opinion. We have ridiculously insane guest co-hosts. I have one with me today. He's ridiculous and insane and smart at the same time. And we continually bring on guests giving you extremely unique and necessary perspectives on the current and future states of higher education. But before we bring in the guest, of course, I've got to bring in my guest host, my guest co-host today. He is amazing. He is the Senior Vice President at Dignity Health. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Jeffrey Roche. Jeffrey, what's happening?
Doing very well, Joe. What's happening on your end?
A little bit of this and a little bit of that. I just started my new gig recently at Lindenwood University Global, trying to stand up a huge online division. It's like getting atomic bombs going off all around you of information that you're trying to absorb. What are you up to?
Keeping busy, trying to make sure we help all the healthcare workforce of not just the United States, but globally as well. So definitely keeping busy, and congrats again on your awesome new job. We know you're gonna excel. So,
well, I'm gonna be calling in favors to you, Jeffrey, to help me. So you better get ready. You better get ready. Give me your cell phone, because I'm just gonna blow you up for help. Jeffrey, come help me, because this is we'll make it work though. We'll make it work.
My first visit to Missouri.
Yeah, we'll bring in the winter. Do you want to come in the summer or the winter?
Definitely. Well, I'm not so sure. I'm not sure when it's tornado season there. So,
yikes! Well, we'll make sure to bring you in the prime time where you don't have to worry about the weather. We had, this is the second time you've guest co-hosted with me, Jeffrey. We had a great conversation on the first episode that will come out sometime. Probably already came out when this recording comes out. But I have a good feeling, that today we will have an amazing conversation with our guest, Dr. Angelita Howard. She's the Assistant Dean for Online Education and Expanded Programs at Morehouse School of Medicine. Angelita, what's happening?
Hey, how are you?
Oh, I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Happy to be here. The sun is shining. It's a great
fire.
You're fire already. You're bringing the heat. I can feel it. I can feel it.
Absolutely.
What's the weather like where you're at right now?
Oh, today it's about in the 50s, early 50s. So I'm sure it is totally cold, much colder where you are. So,
well, I'm in Southern California right now. It's going to be a very chill 71. So, because of course my new gig, Angelita, is in Missouri, but my kids are in school in Southern Cal, so I got to do a little back and forth. I got to see the kids.
How wonderful. Well, in Georgia, we experience spring, summer, fall, and winter all in the same week, sometimes in the same day. So.
Well, it's variable, and Georgia's beautiful, by the way. There's some parts of Georgia that are just insanely beautiful. It is a beautiful, beautiful state. And Morehouse has a lot going on. And of course, the Morehouse School of Medicine, even more so that you're there. So why don't you level set for us? Tell us about the Morehouse School of Medicine and tell us about your role, what you do, what you oversee, and then we'll jump in with questions.
Absolutely. So thank you so much. Morehouse School of Medicine, where we are leading the advancement of health and equity. We're so excited about the work that we're doing, which is really improving the health and well-being of individuals all over, especially those people of color. So we are focused on healthcare. We are focused on health equity, and we are excited. I have been at Morehouse School of Medicine. I can't believe it. It's like a little over 4 years. So it's been
amazing.
Yes, amazing. It has been a journey. Before I got to Morehouse School of Medicine, guess what? We had no online programs. None.
I can believe it.
We didn't have any because, of course, we continue to focus on our MD and building our graduate programs. And voila, they hired me. Why they hired me, God only knows. We'll figure that out later on. But they hired me, and we have, over the last 3 years, started our online program, grown our online program, growing our online program. So I am there as the Assistant Dean for Online Education to really think globally how we introduce more people to healthcare, to health science, to data science, to public health, and making sure that we are intentional about health equity.
Oh, yeah.
Love it. There's a lot there.
Yeah.
But before we dive into that stuff, I'd like to note, and maybe this is kind of an umbrella thing that takes place, is you were or are the Woman of the Year in STEM education. That's A, incredible. B, tell us how that happens and what that means to you.
So, Joel, I tell you what, last year, it was amazing because 2 years ago, I was also nominated. I was the honoree, the top 10. I made it to maybe the top 3 or whatnot. And so I was invited back as a nominee this past year, 2021. And honestly, there were some amazing women in this category, executive directors, CEOs, people who have been in technology for years and years and years. And so the process, this is through Women in Technology. So first of all, to be honored by other women who live and breathe technology was amazing. And the process of being interviewed and being talked to, met with several times, several interviews, several stages of this process to be narrowed down from 10 to be narrowed down to the top 3. And then finally on that day, on that beautiful night, to announce that I was the winner was absolutely amazing. And what I stood on, though, the entire time throughout the process, and even today, was equity, access, and impact. And that is the type of work that we've got to do daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. That's the type of work that I'm focused on: equity, impact, and access. And so that was one of the most exciting moments in my life and my time, just to know that we are making an impact, that we're focused on equity, and people are having access to great medical or to medical education and to health education.
Fire button for that one, Angelita. That's pretty incredible. And your passion comes through. And Jeffrey, I'm going to hand it to you in just a second, but your passion is coming through. I could feel it. Again, I can feel it through the microphone. Your passion's coming through. And I do know, and it's well documented, and you probably have more statistics than I do, that Black and brown folks have less access to public health care. There's less pathways to healthcare education. There's not as many doctors from Black and brown doctors coming through the pipeline. So there's this just a movement, I would say. And who we talked to that was really articulate about this was the president of Howard University was talking about this because he's a surgeon, Wayne, and he was talking about just the inequity in the different sectors of our demographics and so on. So is that where the passion comes from? You just see these, situations around you and just go, I've got to do something about this to create the equity?
Absolutely. So in 2020, 2020, right in the midst of the pandemic, one of the things that I recognize and realize, less than 10% of the population in health informatics and biotechnology are African American, Black and brown people. And so I built what's called our Summer Bridge Pipeline to do just that, to expose more Black and brown students to this area of biotechnology. And then in 2021, to the area of health informatics. But what's even more alarming is less than 3% in biotechnology and or health informatics, less than 3% are in some type of executive leadership role and or on a board, sit on a board. And so those rates, as you can imagine, are alarming, especially when biotechnology is a billion, trillion dollar business industry and health informatics. And so we have to understand, in order to treat people of color, we have to have people of color working through the data. When we talk about data integrity and you don't have people that look like me and others doing and working on this data, then there's a situation. We have a situation here. So yes, my passion comes from being able to make sure that more people in this industry, in these health science, healthcare industry, look more like me, beautiful like me, of course, and brown like me. And so there's a great opportunity for us to build that work. And that's exactly what I'm doing. And that's exactly what I'm going to continue to do. So all of our programs are in pursuit of health equity.
Love it. Jeffrey.
Well, Joe, obviously, as we were sharing before, I always give the disclosure. I love the work that Morehouse does. And obviously, I've had the privilege of serving on the Health Equity Task Force of the Satcher Health Leadership Institute, and also the privilege to have met Dr. Howard once before. Dr. Howard, obviously, congrats on your amazing STEM award again. And let us not forget to mention that not only are you the award winner, but let us never forget to highlight the fact that for all the Black and brown women who can look up to Dr. Howard and realize they also can be that next winner, we've got to recognize that as well. Dr. Howard, I know you are doing amazing trailblazing work in all of various different elements of health professions. Can you talk to Joe and I today? I'm so excited to hear from you, because I know you continue to launch new programs that are so critically needed, and you have amazing pipelines and pathways so that we truly reach the most diverse students who obviously become our future scientists, as well as our future healthcare leaders and clinicians. Can you talk to us about some of those exciting programs?
Yes, and so glad to be on the stage with you, Jeffrey. Thank you for the work that you're doing and have done with Satcher and will continue to do. So absolutely, in our first 3 years, we started an Executive Master of Public Health, a Master of Science in Biotechnology, and then a Master of Science in Health Informatics. So those were our foundational programs that we've started, we've launched, we are growing. The Master of Science in Biotechnology in his second year, last year, received ranked number one in the country. So we're excited about that. This year, we ranked number one as the number one HBCU, as ranked by intelligent.com. So out of 150 biotechnology programs, we've ranked number one in two consecutive years. Again, thanks to my team, thanks to the work that we continue to do. And so as we're moving forward, we just got a partnership with WellPath, and I'm so excited about this. This is certainly an area that's evolving for me, but WellPath actually helped us to start. We're starting what's called a Justice Involved Care program. So the Justice Involved Life Coach program just kicked off this past month, where it is aimed at completely reducing recidivism. Let me say that again, reducing recidivism. A People are giving money for Morehouse School of Medicine to think about how do we make sure when an inmate leaves that prison or the jail that they do not go back. So I am so excited about that. It's a life coach. It is a 4-month program that really focuses on, and you don't have to have a degree, because what we understand, what we know from an equity standpoint, there have been people who may have lived that life or who may have been caught up in something, but they have turned their lives around and they want to also coach. So you don't necessarily have to have a bachelor's degree, but that moves for the ones who have a bachelor's degree and who are interested. We also have a Master of Administration in Justice Involved Care. That's a bigger deep dive into the prison system, but beyond correctional, looking at health equity. So just because I have a headache and Francine has a headache and we're both in, jail, doesn't mean that we both need Tylenol. I might need something more than Tylenol, but just because I'm behind the bars and because I am color does not mean that everyone needs a Tylenol. You may need to dig deeper and to see what I need. So that program is really my hope to bring about systemic change, a systematic change within how do we treat population, how do we treat citizens, how do we treat returning citizens, how do we make sure that, again, we're reducing recidivism. On top of that, we're adding in August as well a Doctorate of Health Administration. And again, because we know that a lot of people who go to the hospitals, a lot of people who don't always get the care that they need, we've got to make sure our leaders are outreaching. We've got to make sure that our healthcare leaders are equipped with the knowledge and expertise to make sure that they can talk about why people should not wait until they go to the emergency room, or that they should have a primary care doctor, or they should understand telemedicine or telehealth, and making sure that there's access, back to that access. So we are, I can keep going on about our programs, but we are just excited about, and all of these are online. So you can be anywhere in the country, anywhere, and do these programs. We make sure that our faculty are faculty practitioners, so they are in the field, they understand what's going on. We have advisory boards that help us think about curriculum, make sure that our students, that they're not left behind because of who they are or their race or their socioeconomic background status, so that when they leave our programs, they are employable and employed.
Love it. Jeffrey, keep going.
Love it, Dr. Howard. One of the things that I was also hoping you could talk about that I think even Joe and certainly the EdUp amazing listeners would find of interest as well, which I have always just been so impressed upon, was your Pathways and Bridges program. And can you talk to us about that? Because we, to your point, we can't do enough as it relates to demonstrating clear, intentional pathways into all these various programs that you mentioned, particularly for those who we know have a lot stacked up against them. And we have to be very honest about that. And from your earlier comment about diversity, equity, and inclusion, we know that we still have a lot more work to do in the United States of America to truly create more equity. And so can you talk about those programs? Because they are amazing. And I think we've got to see how we can replicate them.
Absolutely. So there are two programs, summer pipeline programs. One is called the Bridges to Biotech and Entrepreneurship, and the other one is Bridge to Health Informatics. And again, these are 5-week programs. I developed them specifically to expose motivated undergraduate juniors and seniors or post-baccalaureate students to both the health informatics and biotechnology industry. Because what I realize is that in undergrad, most people say, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a doctor. Okay, well, what does that really mean? What does and how does that line up with your grades? How does that line up with the MCAT? How does that line up with reality? And so because we understand there's a huge disparity and a huge gap, there are opportunities for you to still be extremely influential in healthcare, but from a different aspect. Everybody is not patient centered or patient forward. So everybody doesn't have to see a patient to have an impact on a patient. For example, and I tell the students when we're talking to them, when we're recruiting, when we're meeting, for example, if someone goes in and let's just say they break their leg or need a cast, guess what? The doctor can do one thing. The doctor can x-ray, they can read the x-ray, or they can see the x-ray to say, oh, you've broken your leg. But where does the cast come from? Biotechnology. Where's the information for the doctor to send for a x-ray? Health Informatics. Where's the information for the doctor to prescribe those drugs? So there is a holistic approach to treating patients. Holistic approach. Same thing, diabetes. When we think about diabetes or think about care and treatment, there's a holistic approach about the medicine. Even COVID, we're in the COVID, we're in the midst of coronavirus, COVID. Corona is biotech. It is the vials, from the needles, from the drug development, all the way through health informatics. Again, the data that we saw day by day by the CDC, or in Atlanta, Georgia, again, by the CDC, all of that information, Department of Health, all of those data, the statistics, all of that information, health technology, when your pharmacy receives prescription, how is that information transcribed? And so the Summer Bridge program does exactly that. There are small modules that students use, that students take, where we have faculty come in. It's virtual, so they can take it from any place. But again, it's exposing them to something beyond, I want to be an MD. I'm not saying there is nothing wrong if you want to be an MD. So if you're listening to me, don't get your hopes down and say your dreams down and say, she told me I can't. No, but what I am telling you is because we understand the facts, we see the data, how many students. And so while we are working hard to bridge students, because we know the disparity as it relates to physicians, but there are also opportunities in health informatics, in biotechnology, for more people of color to go into these spaces. But they have to know. Some just didn't know. They knew they wanted biotech. They didn't realize it was biotech. They said, oh, I would love to make a stent or help people with breathing tubes or things of that nature. So they talk about it. And this is what we do. And one of the things that I love about the summer pipeline is the I-Core methodology that we use for students to really understand the business side of it, the customer discovery phase. How do you get a technology to market? How do you pitch it? So we're looking at it from an entrepreneurial aspect, but even if they are working in an industry, how do they go about building such a model? So it's exciting. It's a lot of work. The students have an amazing time. That I will say in our survey, they do talk about the amount of work because we are giving them clear exposure in hopes that they will go to the master's program. So it is a pipeline to the master's. Many go, but some decide not to, and they decide that they're going to work.
Lead Squared isn't only an enrollment CRM. It's a technology that will allow you to optimize your entire front-end student lifecycle by providing decision makers with real-time customizable dashboards. Forecasting, measuring, and optimizing for key activities will increase retention and revenue, and Lead Squared will lower technology costs simultaneously. Not only can Lead Squared align with existing admissions processes, but the technology will also help you innovate beyond what you thought was possible. The ability to access data on your phone will keep you connected, and when you add in the world-class customer service, Lead Squared transcends being a technology. It's an experience. Check them out at leadsquared.com.
Well, and Dr. Howard, it's important to have a program like that too, because for those who, may not know what's truly all involved, that Pathway Bridges program does help them, to your point, that maybe they don't want to go that master's direction, and rather than go and then have to drop out and have potential additional loans and such, it's so critical. And so we can't thank you enough. And, the last comment I want to make before I know, I'm sure Joe would like to jump back in, so I'm not hogging the time.
No, go ahead. Just keep taking, you just take over the episode, Jeffrey. Keep going. Don't worry, I won't mute you for taking over all my time.
is really, the important element of what you've shared here, and Morehouse's immense commitment and authentic, not only commitment, but passion for truly making sure that we have more equity in all aspects of our society, is that, to your point, Morehouse is going to help create the future Dr. Corbett's. And when we look at what Dr. Corbett had, done, particularly with the Moderna vaccine, it's so exciting when you think about, for all the individuals that are in STEM that come from diverse backgrounds, to be able to see, what we know are amazing scientists who are also diverse and look like all these future scientists, and yet we still in our system don't see enough of them. And so your points are so well noted. And again, thank you for you and your team for what you're doing to change that, because Lord knows our society needs it.
Absolutely. And I failed to mention that it is free. So again, when we talk about training, we are partnering. We partner with different organizations to help grant fund this initiative, because again, we understand that there is time, not only time, but cost associated. And so we want to make sure that we reduce as many barriers as we possibly can for students.
Let's talk about that, because this is an important part. Everybody we're talking about, all these results and pipelines and really positive consequences, comes with some struggle. And one of the things that's being well documented right now in higher education is that people of color, specifically Black men, are leaving the education pipeline faster and in greater numbers than other demos. Is that a concern for Morehouse? Are you seeing that happen? Are these programs such that you wouldn't be in it if you didn't want to do it? These medical programs, or are you just seeing, retention? Is that a struggle? Is it an issue? Is it a focus? Talk about some of the internal conversations around retention and keeping these guys in school.
Yeah, It certainly is. And I'll give a case in the point. There was a program it was a pipeline program at another one of our sister schools that really took the undergrad. They had a grant, and it took the undergrad students who qualified, and basically it would pay for their undergrad all the way through medical school. There were certain GPAs that they had to have, and certain SAT scores, and they could apply to the program and get full tuition from undergrad through medical school. Not one male applied.
Wow.
Not one male applied. So we understand that there is certainly trouble in that area. And so there was initiative to go move beyond and try to get more males to apply for that particular program. And so it is seen throughout. And so we're working constantly to understand those barriers. But in addition to those barriers, we're also working to make sure that we're hiring more men of color, men who are examples and role models, to make sure that when other Black men, that they see what we know they could do, the type of work that they could do. They see those type of role models for them. We also continue to make sure that we're creating opportunities, again, for exposure, even with some of the undergrad students who are thinking about medical school. How do we make sure that we're getting them placed? How do we make sure we're making sure that there are mentoring programs, mentoring options? And so, yes, there's a great disparity in that. But we're working harder and more intentional to align our efforts better at recruiting and retaining more African-American men in the STEM field at large, outside of just MD, but at large.
Yeah, it makes the commitment to equity even, pressure might be the wrong word, but it makes it even that much more important when you're you're working to save this pipeline of Black men into education, as it were, and in education as in an industry. I mean, there's just a lot of work that we all have to do as administrators to ensure that that continues to happen. But I do want to just transition quickly into something completely unrelated to higher education, or possibly, and then come back around as we hit the second half of the episode. Angelita, and that is a question I like to call a curveball question. If you've listened to the EdUp experience, you may have heard it asked before. If you haven't listened to the EdUp experience before, well, it's going to put you on the spot. You ready?
I'm ready. Yes.
There we go. Angelita, this is for no money. No money, unfortunately. However, I would still like to ask you the question. What's your entrance music? What's the song that plays when you step out on stage, whether that stage is a commencement stage, a stage in your house, in your living room? What's the song that would properly introduce you, and why?
I think the song would be I'm Still Alive.
Sing it.
Yeah. Yes. So because
Fire.
Keep going.
the reason that song is probably my intro song is because every attack or every no that I've come across, I'm still alive. I'm still moving, and I'm still walking, and I'm still breathing, and I'm still doing the work that I was set here to do. And that is my message to every single person, young girl, lady who looks or who's hearing this podcast, or whose parent is hearing this. No is not final. No is not final. You can still do it. You can still move through the obstacles. And I tell you what, especially in a place, in any organization, you're going to have people who don't want to change. You're going to have the guard, as some people call it, the old guard, who does not want to move. They don't want to change. And everything that you do, they shoot darts at you. They put a stop sign.
Yikes.
Yes, they don't put the yield sign. I'll be okay if they put a yield sign, but they put out the whole stop.
Full stop. Yeah.
They're like, I mean, and from the beginning. And so when I'm walking out, I want to hear I'm still alive, because I am. And so, or I can say, hit me with your best shots.
Which one? You only can pick. Well, I guess you could pick as many as you want. They're your songs.
Yes, because you didn't give me any money.
I didn't give you any money. And yeah, I said, what's your entrance music? I didn't say pick one song. So your entrance music could rotate. It's a good, I like this answer.
Dr. Howard, just turn it right back on him and ask Joe what his entrance song would be.
This is,
what's your entrance song?
Jeffrey, I don't know if I can have you back. You keep putting me on the receiving end of all these questions. All right, I'll answer. Only because you ask. I would select two. And this is going to sound horrible, but I like Protect Your Neck by the Wu-Tang Clan, because I like to attack. Not like to attack, we set out to be the best in the podcast business and higher education, trying to build stuff internally for people to attend college. So, and I always say, if you're not moving fast, you better protect your neck, because I'm going to come, I'm going to come for you. And then of course, is my music. I have 80s rock and rap are my two favorite musical tastes. There is Motley Crue vibe in my body, and I would say Kickstart My Heart by Motley Crue, if that resonates with the audience here. Yeah. So fast and moving quick and trying to serve students as they need it, but also got to have energy to do what we do, right? Angela, you got to have energy. Yes. And you have to have energy, and this is a great lead-in for my next question. Thank you, Jeffrey, for setting that up. I'll pay you later.
Before you ask your question, let's ask Jeffrey his. We can't.
Oh yeah, I get.
Right, it's equity, right? Yeah.
Well, he's been taking over the episode. I felt like he had enough time, but I guess go let him go. Go ahead, Jeffrey.
I'll go with two too. I think my first would be "It's a Beautiful Day" by U2, because I always try to remember every day you can find some way of making it beautiful. And then my second. For all those that may listen and know Jeffrey back in the day, I have to go with Baby Got Back by Sir Mix-a-Lot, because I have to have a little bit of fun at some point when I'm stressed. And that's my way of having a little fun, even with a few little dancing.
I thought mine were bad, Jeffrey, but just kidding. That's good. I love it.
First song, I was like, oh, that's so sweet. And then he hits us with Baby Got Out. I just started dancing like Baby Got Back.
And of course, this is only audio here, so the crowd cannot see this on YouTube, unfortunately. But Angelita was busting a move. But speaking of busting a move, let's talk about barriers to entry. And you brought it up. You talk about the full stop. You talk about the yield sign. You talk about change. 4 years ago, no online programs at Morehouse School of Medicine. You come in, you've got to help get online programs in. Was it easy? Was it a snap of the finger? Were there significant barriers that you had to overcome? Tell us the story.
It was hell.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
It was very... And so
that was the laugh of everybody that was when you said, hey, we're going to do online programs.
Exactly. And guess what? You have to be authentic and real. It didn't mean that hell didn't get better, but sometimes I think we have to be transparent and honest when you're bringing something that's completely new and you've had a place that loves what they do and the way they've done it for so many years. It's like, why are you messing up our ecosystem? We built this and it works. Why do you want to come in here and disrupt, innovate, and make changes? And so I began to question even myself. I began to question, was this the right place? Am I doing the right thing? Should I be doing this? I had so many questions for myself. I began to doubt what I really came for because of the barriers around change. I don't think it was the barriers of that we could or could not do it, but the fact of this is change, it's new, it doesn't always feel comfortable. Someone is coming to take over the land. And I wasn't coming to take over the land. I wanted to add to the land. And so anytime you're starting anything new out there that's listening to us, then you've got to really gear your mind up, your head up, and your heart for those things that may come against or adversary or the pushbacks that you may receive. And so you've got to reset in your head, reset in your mind. Why am I here? What is my goal? What is my purpose? What is the reason why I've decided that this is the path that we're going? And how do I partner with our internal stakeholders to help them understand the value proposition, the value in what we're doing, and how they could be an asset to, we talk about buy-in all the time, but how can they be an asset to the work, or at least learn about the work so that they're not disrupted by it or upset by it, or they feel that it's going to take over like zombies.
Oh man, all that resonates with me, right? Because I've faced the same things in my career, and you know what's the hard part is that it's taxing on the change driver and less taxing on the change preventer. It's easy to just go no, and so much harder to try to find pathways to convince, because you're changing hearts and minds as a driver of change. And we've seen that, right? We've seen that in the online space. A number of colleges have added online, many by force due to coronavirus. So this is pre-CV, as it were, as you entered into the online space and helped Morehead get there. So I can imagine that culture change was even harder, right? Because it wasn't forced.
It wasn't forced. It was before, right? So, but then since we've been in the corona space, I think it's almost like, God, I think you were smiling on me. I mean, not that God, I don't want to say that God was smiling on the corona or whatever. Not that I'm trying to make this into a religious thing, but certainly that everybody had to go online. So you didn't have a choice. You had no option. We had to all be in a virtual online space, which I think because we had started the work and people were understanding it a little bit better, a little bit more, that even though there were people, of course, that still kind of, we struggled to get there, but I think had an appreciation. And I'm hoping even so now, people have more appreciation than maybe years before for online learning, and that it is work. You still have to work. You don't get to just go to sleep and do your work. And hopefully there's more value to what we do and the work that we do, and people understand and respect online learning more than they did years ago.
Love that. Jeffrey, you have any more questions for Dr. Howard before we hit the final two?
Not necessarily a question, but I do think, Joe, we need to commend and salute Dr. Howard, because as we all know, there's going to be other individuals that are going to listen to this and they're going to say, oh my gosh, I'm going through the same exact situation that Dr. Howard went through. Even though, the pandemic has forced people to be online, we know there are still more traditionalists in higher education than we care to continue to have. While we value them, we also know that you got to respond to the changing needs of business and industry. And particularly when you're dealing with systemic issues, it's more important than ever, which obviously Morehouse has always been on the solution end of dealing with that. And so I think we just want to also call that out, because Dr. Howard's determination, her passion, and really her sincere commitment to see it through and make it happen is profound. Because when you look at how many programs have been added in a very short period of time, and let's just say she's not just adding programs to add programs, she's actually adding programs that support critical workforce and needs. That's truly what higher education should always be doing. And so I just want to make sure that we say that.
100%.
That was an agreement from the crowd. Angelita, and we like to ask our guests the same two questions to close out every episode. Number one, what did we miss about the Morehead School of Medicine that you want to say? Anything about your work, events you're going to attend, somewhere you're going, a new program that's coming out? Anyway, plug away. And number two, what do you see as the future of higher education?
Those are great questions. So thank you. I have talked about our online program. I do want to salute our team, our school, especially our online program team, because I can have a vision, write it, and do all of those things, but without execution, nothing happens. So I am so very thankful for our team. I'm so very thankful for our president, who continues to be a cheerleader for the work that we're doing, and understand the value, which makes things certainly go and move in the way that they should. Always, people can find us on msm.edu/online to see the programs. The great thing about new programs, a lot of times you have money, startup money for scholarships, hint, hint. So if people are interested in any of the programs that we do have scholarships available, because we are intentional about creating space for people to learn about health equity and really drive that force. And, I'm excited. I really am excited. There's a Beyond Flexner conference coming up in in about a month or so, month and a half, that I will be speaking about the justice involved. And why I'm really excited about that. I mean, I'm excited about the HIMSS conference and other technology things that I'm doing, but I'm excited about the justice involved, because really this is a new space for me. So, sure, I've had, family members impacted by the justice system. Sure, I've known people work with the sheriff, work with different entities, but not in a deep dive educational sense. So I'm kind of nervous, but I'm hyped up at the same time to really talk to more people in this space about how to build and how to really grow, think about justice involved care and what that looks like. I am extremely excited. This has been amazing. I'm thankful. You all can follow me on Instagram, Angelita Howard. You can follow me on Facebook. Sometimes I'm interesting, sometimes I'm not. I do sing. So sometimes I'll post a song, like for Christmas, I posted on my LinkedIn, throughout my social media, because I think just because of the corona, I think people needed some peace, some love, some joy, so something good. So I did post some songs. So if you all see some music, then you'll see that. But certainly, I'm always happy to talk to educators, leaders about the work that I do, the work that we do, because I want to make a systemic or systematic change. And the only way that we're doing that is that people should be doing the same thing, or certainly emulating some of the work that we're doing to create, bridge health equity. So thank you. I think I answered your question.
And the future of higher ed. What do you see as the future of higher ed?
The future of higher ed, I see continuous AI, machine learning. I mean, I'm talking about, we're going to be, do y'all remember the Jetsons, or am I dating myself?
No, come on now. Of course I remember the Jetsons. Flying car coming right up to get fast food right at the window, yeah.
Exactly. So we're about 75% of the Jetsons. If you remember the walkways, if you remember all of the technology that was thought about then, I think where we are, the future of education, institutions have to reconsider how they educate people. People right now, if you think about the workforce, people are leaving jobs left and right if they're not given remote options. So if they want remote options, work from home, and I'm not talking about temporarily, I'm talking about permanently. They want remote options. So we've got to train people in a remote setting. We've got to make sure that people are getting pipeline programs, because they may not have the money. If we're not going to fund higher education, then we've got to create opportunities for them through pipeline, through grant processes. But the continuous future of education is highly technical. We're not going to have to drive ourselves to the car. We are to the store. We know that. So there are opportunities for us to grow, learn, and engage. But we've got to continue to put the resources in and continue to be flexible in our thinking and our knowledge, and allow students, people who come to us, I think we're no longer millennial, Gen Z, the Gen Z and millennials, to give us ideas and listen and learn from those ideas and go forward. We can mess it up. We'll start over or try something different, but we have to engage them where they are, help us think about the future and be ready to move forward.
Oh, I love it. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another incredible, you know what makes these episodes so good is the guest. I mean, when we have somebody that's absolute passion, fire, like Angelita, like you are, it makes these episodes so good. I want to first thank my guest co-host today, Jeffrey Roche. He's Senior Vice President at Dignity Health. Jeffrey, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me, and always good to see you, Joe, as well as Dr. Howard.
Thank you.
And our guest today is fire. Her name is Dr. Angelita Howard. She's Assistant Dean for Online Education and Expanded Programs at the Morehouse School of Medicine. Angelita, it has been an honor, and I mean it, to listen to you talk and to let your passion fly. Thank you for coming on the EdUp Experience today.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Jeffrey. It's been amazing. Thank you, Morehouse School of Medicine, for the opportunity. I am excited. Thank you so much. EdUp Experience.
There you have it, guys. You've just EdUp'd. The Lead Squared integrated CRM functionality will put your institution at the front end of marketing and enrollment strategy by delivering a streamlined admissions process. Capture student interest, segment your audience, create student engagement workflows, and even integrate with your student information system to create longitudinal key performance metrics you've always wanted. You can do all of this and lower your technology costs. Check out leadsquared.com for more info.